Good day, ma'am, and to you, my classmates. And today I'm going to discuss to you the guidelines for informal reports. First, I am Renz Manuel Restar, your reporter, and let us now discuss the guidelines for informal reports. So, first of all, what is an informal report? So, an informal report is a document that contains about 2 to 5 pages of text, not including attachments. It has more substance than a simple letter or memo, but it is presented in letter or memo format. Lastly, it can be directed to readers either outside or inside your organization. So, if it is outside, it is called a letter report. But if it is inside, it is from inside, it is called a memo report. There are six informal report guidelines that are used in our module. So I will discuss to you the six of it, the six guidelines for informal report. So it is the first, the use of letter or memo format, the use of ABC format for organization, create the abstract as an introductory summary, put important details in the body, focus attention in your conclusion, and lastly, use attachments for less important details. Now, let us move on to our first guidelines. Our first guideline is use letter or memo format. So, it is the greeting that's sometimes left out. The greetings is left out or replaced by an attention line, especially when your letter report will go to many readers in an organization. So the greetings in the first line is replaced by an attention line. So I will show you an example of these. So here. So a report title often comes immediately after the inside address. So this identifies the specific project covered in the report. Okay, and lastly, spacing between lines might be single, 1 1/2, or double. It depends on the reader's preference. So spacing between lines, it can be single, it can be 1 1/2, or double. It always depends on the reader's preference. And lastly, in our first guidelines, memo reports follow the same format as a typical business memos. So both memos and memo reports have a subject line that should engage interest, give readers their first quick look at your topic, and be both specific and concise. So just like a common business memos, the memo reports are engaging interest upon readers. So they use words or format that will easily caught or catch the eye of your reader, specific reader, to be concise. Our next guideline is the use of ABC format for organization. So the most technical documents, including the informal reports, follow what this book called the ABC format. So what is the ABC format? So this approach to organization includes the three parts: A, the abstract; B, the body; and lastly the C, which is the conclusion. So the first four guidelines give details on the ABC format as applied to informal reports. So this is the ABC format. First, the abstract. So abstract, it is a start with a capsule version of the information most needed by decision makers. So first you make an abstract of your report. That is the first version of the informations needed in your report. So it was like the first format that we use when you are making this informal letter. So the next, after you do the abstract, you do the body. So the body is give Details in the body of the report where technical readers are most likely to linger while to examine supporting evidence. So the body, it is like the content of your report. So this has the details of what your report is, has most detail on it. And lastly, which is the conclusion. So it is the reserve the end of the report for a description or list of findings, conclusions, or recommendations. So this is like the main or the summarized version of your report. So at the end, you will see the findings or the list of findings, the list of conclusions, and the recommendations of your report. So this is the ABC format for organizations. Okay, so the next guidelines is create the abstract as an introductory summary. So abstracts should give readers a summary, the big picture. So abstract, when we say abstract, it is like the summary of the report. So you should give the readers the summary that they wanted or they need to know. So this text suggests that in informal reports, you should label this overview introductory, summary, or introductory summary, terms that give the reader a good idea of what the section contains. So the readers should know or have a hint of what they are going to read, what will we read, which you will label it in this overview the introductory summary, so they will have a hint of what they are going to read next. So just one or two paragraphs in this first section give readers the three essential pieces of information. So the first information is the purpose of the report. Why are you writing it? So introductory summary, you will give them or they will know what is the purpose of your report. Okay, so why are you writing it? Okay, what is the purpose of it? What is your purpose? What is your intention of it? So next is the scope statement. So what range of information does the report contain? So what is the scope of your statement? So how long or how wide is your range of information will contain? Okay, so lastly is the summary of essentials. So what main information does the reader most want or need to know? So in this part, so the summary of essentials, so this contains what is the main idea or what informations the reader should know. Is the information that they wanted or the information that they needed to know about your report. Okay, so our next guideline is put important details in the body. So the body section expands on the outline presented in the introductory summary. So if a report goes to a diverse audience, managers often read the quick overview in the introductory summary and then skip to conclusions and recommendations. Technical readers, however, may look first to the body sections where they expect to find the supporting details. So unlike the managers that reads a quick overview in the introductory summary and then they skip the body, they go into the conclusions and recommendations immediately. They skip to read the body. But unlike the technical readers, they first read the body section instead. So here's why. So here is what they expect to read, what they are expected to see in your report. So use headings generously. Each time you change a major or minor point, consider whether a heading change would help the reader. Next is precede subheading with a lead-in passage. For example, this section covers these three phases of field study: clearing the sites, collecting samples, and classifying samples. So you should have a subheadings of the main idea or the main topic that you are discussing in your body. So okay, and lastly, move from general to specific in paragraphs. Start with each paragraph with a topic sentence that include in your main point and then give supporting details. So just like in our second example, you should have a subheadings. After going from your main idea, you will support it with your supporting details. So it will be precise and it will be concise for your readers, or especially in technical readers, because they are expecting to find supporting details. That's why they are reading the body section. So next is focus their attention in your conclusion. So letter and memo reports can end with a section labeled findings, conclusion, or conclusions and recommendations. This section gives details about major findings, conclusions, and if called for, recommendations. So people often remember best what they read last. So think hard about what you place at the end of your report. So the last part of your report is the one that your reader will always remember, because it is the conclusion or the main idea or the summary of your report written. So you should always think of something that will they always remember. The precise amount of the details in your conclusion depends on which of these two options you will choose for your particular report. So the first option, if your major conclusions or recommendations have already been stated in the discussion, then you only need to restate them briefly to reinforce their importance. So if your main conclusions or recommendations are already stated um, in the body or in the first part of your report, you will just copy them but restate them briefly. You will summarize them in a short reinforced summary, just to highlight their importance. And the second option, option number two, if the discussion leads up to but has not covered these conclusions or recommendation, then you may want to give them more details in this final section. So next is, if the main idea is not really highlighted or not covered, not discussed very well, you may give more details on it on the final section or in the conclusions and recommendation section. So you will pinpoint them, the details that the readers needs to know or wanted to know. Okay. And for our last guideline, so this is the use the attachments for less important details. So the trend today is to avoid lengthy text in informal reports. Replace as much report text as possible with clearly labeled attachments that includes items such as tables, figures, or costs. So just like other reports, it is necessary to make a brief and concise report. So to avoid lengthy text in an informal report, it is often used or recommended to use figures or tables or graphic organizer in order for you to summarize it with a short text used, and that's all. And that is all for today. This ends my report, and I hope that you learned something from what we have discussed all about the guidelines for informal letters. So that's all for today. Have a good day, and thank you.